Hi everyone, Professor Franz here. Today we will continue our exploration of the topic demand. Specifically, we will be diving into why the demand curve slopes downward. The law of demand tells us that when prices fall, consumers tend to buy more. But why does this happen? There are three key reasons: the income effect, the substitution effect, and diminishing marginal utility. Let's break them down. Let's start with income effect. Let's say you have a weekly budget of $20 for gasoline. If gas costs $4 per gallon, how many gallons can you afford to purchase? $20 divided by $4 per gallon, which gives you 5 gallons. Now, imagine the price drops to $2 per gallon. Suddenly, your $20 stretches further, allowing you to buy 10 gallons. This example illustrates the income effect. As prices fall, the purchasing power of your money increases, meaning you can afford more. When the price of a good drops, the purchasing power of your money rises. It's as if your income or budget has increased, even though the actual amount of your money you have remains the same. Since you can afford more at a lower price, your quantity demanded goes up. This is one key reason why the demand curve slopes downward. Another reason that causes downward sloping demand curve is called the substitution effect. Imagine you enjoy both apples and oranges and typically buy a mix of both. Now, suppose the price of apples drops while the price of oranges stays the same. What happens? Since apples are now cheaper, they become more attractive compared to oranges. You start buying more apples because they give you better value for your money. In other words, you buy more apples to replace oranges. We call this the substitution effect, another key factor why demand curves are downward sloping. Here is what we call diminishing marginal utility. Each time you consume an additional apple, the enjoyment it brings starts to dwindle. The first apple tastes great. The second one is still satisfying, but by the third or the fourth, the excitement fades. This is the principle of diminishing marginal utility. The more of a good you consume, the less utility or satisfaction you get from each additional unit. As the marginal utility of each apple declines, so does its perceived value to you. Because of this, the more apples you eat, the less willing and able you are to pay for another one. This effect helps explain the downward sloping demand curve. The concept of diminishing marginal utility applies not just to goods like apples, but also to money. Each additional dollar you receive brings less satisfaction than the previous one. Think about it. If you find a $100 bill behind your couch, that's exciting. That unexpected money could cover groceries, a nice meal, or a small splurge. It feels valuable and immediately helpful. Now, imagine Elon Musk finds a $100 bill. Does it change anything for him? Probably not. In the grand scheme of his billions, an actual $100 is insignificant. It barely affects his spending or lifestyle. This is the idea behind diminishing marginal utility of money. The more wealth you have, the less impact each additional dollar has on your overall satisfaction or welfare. Each additional dollar means more to someone with less wealth than to a billionaire or a millionaire. That's why progressive taxation exists, allocating government funds where they have the greatest impact. An actual $100 spent on Medicaid or school lunches benefit low-income families far more than a tax cut for the wealthy, whose spending habits remain unchanged. Since money holds greater utility for those with fewer resources, progressive taxation helps direct it where it matters the most. Now you know the three reasons why a demand curve is downward sloping. That is due to income effect, substitution effect, and diminishing marginal utility. I hope this helps, and I'll see you next time.